the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king. Verse 11, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people.
With the crown royal. They over there drinking crown royal. That's funny. So I get y'all. Keep going.
To show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
To do what?
To show the people and the princess her beauty.
So that's all he was doing, man. He was flexing. You know what I'm saying? He got drunk, feeling himself. He like, man, let me show y'all something. He talked to the Aki, like, well, they ain't brothers, these was heathens. So he talked to the men in this courtyard, like, well, let me show y'all something. Bragging, and he called his rib, like, go get my rib. You know what I'm saying? Because she looked good. Bring her on over here. So he called her over there. Keep going, let's see what Vashti said.
Verse 12, but the queen Vashti refused.
She said no. She said, I ain't coming. The queen summoned her, she said no. Keep going. She feeling herself.
Damn. To come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very rough.
Now he pissed. He like, man, I called her, come on over here, man, show her off. And she said no. The hell wrong with her? Keep going.
And his anger burned in him.
He pissed off. Keep going.
Verse 13. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times.
To the wise men that did what?
Which knew the times.
What's that talking about, y'all? To the wise men. He's speaking to the wise men that knew the times. What does that mean? Who are these wise men? Go ahead, Sarah.
The Hebrews.
Go ahead, Officer Mashah.
It's like Shabbat. It was men who were pretty much soothsayers. They could read the stars.
There you go. That's what that was. That was your Miss Cleo's of the time. You know, they go to these certain dudes like, man, hey man, can you read my future? Can you tell me what's gonna happen in a couple weeks? These were the the wise men that knew the times. That's what they mean in the scripture when they say they knew the times. All right? Keep going.
For so was the king's manner toward all the new law and judgment. Verse 14. And the next unto him was Karshina, and Shethar, and Admatha, and Tarshish, Merez, Marcina, and Mamunkan.
You got them Wakanda names, huh? Them horrible Wakanda names. Come on.
The 7 princes of Persia and the Mede,
Come on.
which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. Verse 15. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti?
All right, so when the king called his queen Vashti over, all right, she said no. Now when she said no, they delivered a message back. They saw the king's face. His face frowned up. Remember the scripture said he was full of wrath. He's full of anger. So he looking at his face like, all right, man, you pissed off. What we gonna do about it? Come on.
According to the law, because she have not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. Verse 16. And Mamunkan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen have not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes.
They said, when Vashti told you no, she didn't just do you wrong. She did wrong to all the princes, to all the men in the court. I mean, you understand? Your woman, I mean, even these heathens know that your woman is under you, all right? So she ain't supposed to be heifer necking, what they say, turkey necking. She ain't supposed to be doing all that. When you tell her to do stuff, she supposed to say, con on con. You understand? Even these heathens know that. So by her doing that to the king, they're like, man, we got to do something about this, because her telling you no don't just affect you or your house, it affect us and all our houses. All right, keep going. They're gonna touch on that some more. Keep going.
God. And to all the people that are in all the province of the king, Ahasuerus. Verse 17. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women.
This shall do what?
Shall come abroad unto all women.
This shall come abroad to all women. You let this ride with Vashti, her telling you no. I mean, they was kind of over exaggerated. If you ask me, damn, but they just said straight up, man, if you let this disobedient pass, then it's gonna come about all the men and all the kingdom, and we can't have that. Right. So we gotta nip this in the bud right now. All right. This how you know our women today is evil under the white man, following this white man. You understand? And the white woman with this whole feminist movement and all of that got our women thinking like them. That's why our women gay. Right. You know what I'm saying? They want to do all this bull crap. What they say? Y'all just want us at the crib, barefoot and pregnant. And that never happened to the black woman. You understand? That's something that they get from white women. Right. If we would have nipped them white women in the bud back then, our women would still be, obedient. Coming into the truth under the priests and prophets of the Isupk. Only do our women learn here how they should truly be in modesty and humbleness under the eyes of the Lord. All right? So they had to nip that in the bud real fast back then, or else it would have spread it, and that's what they're talking about now. Keep going.
So that they shall despise their husbands, and in their eyes, when it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him.
Keep going.
But she came not.
She did what?
But she came not.
She was really feeling herself, man. I don't know what was wrong with that heathen, man. But just like most heathen women, they try to come up against a man, and that's exactly what she doing. Keep going.
Come.
That's that Showtime at Apollo light up there, man. That was bright. Keep going.
Verse 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and the Medes say this day unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen.
Yeah, keep going.
Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. Verse 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let him be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus.
So they getting Vashti up out of there now. They said because Vashti been disobedient, she ain't listening to the king, we got to get Vashti up out of there. All right? Where you at now? What verse you at?
I'm still at verse 19.
You on 2 yet? Chapter 2 yet?
Nah, sir.
All right, skip up 2.
No. Cut on.
All right, go ahead.
And let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she.
That is what?
That is better than she.
Okay, keep going.
Verse 20. And when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small.
Both to great and small. I don't care if you're the king or the garbage picker. Your wife gonna respect you. That's what they're saying. Keep going.
Verse 21. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. Verse 22. For he sent letters into all the king's province. All
right, so he's sending it out to everybody that he get a new rib. Skip to 2. Come to 2. Let's get on Esther real fast.
Chapter 2. Esther chapter 2, verse 2. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Verse 2. Then said the king's servants and ministered unto him, Let there be fair young virgins.
What's a virgin, y'all? Go ahead, Isupk.
A young woman eligible to marriage.
Young woman of eligible age. What else? Go ahead, sir.
Who has gotten her father.
There you go. Who came on the flock. All right. So the virgin is something that you become. You understand? Once you get your flower, a man can never become a virgin. All right. I just wanted to touch on that real fast. Keep going.
God. Sought for the king. Verse 3. And let the king appoint officers in all the province of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the house, unto the custody of Hej, the king's chamberlain, keeper of women, and let their things for purification be given unto them. Verse 4. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimeli, the son of Kish, and Benjamin. Benjamite.
A Benjamite. What's a Benjamite, y'all? Officer Mashak, go ahead.
Someone who's of the tribe of Benjamin.
Okay, go ahead, Shabbat. Go ahead, please.
Jamaican, you know what I mean?
Oh, you talking about
Jamaicans.
What would you call a Benjamite today?
Oh.
Ahasuerus was Xerxes, who reigned 485 BC to 465 BC. Everybody understand? So the king that we read about in this book of Esther, this king Ahasuerus, is the king Xerxes. You can go look the king Xerxes up in history. He's the man who reigned after, I want to say, Darius. So give me 1 second. Hold up. Yeah, Xerxes reigned after Darius the first. So you go in the history of the Persian Empire, you had Cyrus the Great, who was the one who beat out the Babylonians and took the kingdom from Nebuchadnezzar. Then after Cyrus, you had Darius the first. After Darius, you had King Xerxes. So this book of Esther takes place during the reign of King Xerxes, all right? And the book starts out with a feast is being thrown in the 3rd year of his rulership. He gathers all of the princes and his servants, meaning all of the important people that were under the rulership of the Persians and the Medes. He gathers everybody to Shushan the palace. Shushan was the head, or the head was the capital city of the Persian and the Mede Empire at this time. And so we're going to read down to verse 11, because what happens in the beginning of the book of Esther is very important in understanding the difference in the culture between the children of Israel and the culture of the heathens. We're going to read about what occurred at this great feast that the king Xerxes had, which opened the door for Mordecai and Esther to be involved in the high seat in this Persian Empire. So let's drop down to Esther chapter 1. Let's get verse 10.
Esther chapter 1, verse 10. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Bagtha, Zathar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king. Verse 11. To bring Vashti, the queen, before the king, with the crown royal, to shew the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
Man, they've been partying for 7 days. King is always good and drunk, having a good time. All his wealth and all of the majesty of his empire is being shown before everybody. And on the 7th day, he get the idea that he wants his queen to be brought so he can show off how bad his woman is to everybody that's here celebrating at the palace. So he tell his 7 chamberlains or his top 7 aides, listen, man, go get my wife, go get Vashti, so I can bring out here and show off to everybody. Everybody see how beautiful my woman is. Read on.
Verse 11, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to shew the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on. Verse 12, but the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command.
Say it one more time.
But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command.
He sent for his woman to be brought forth before him to show her off, and she tell him, "Nah, I'm not coming." She's rebelling against the king. She's defiant against her man. Read on.
By his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Verse 13. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the time, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment.
Like, drop down to verse 15.
Verse 15. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law, because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains? Verse 16. And Memucan answered before the king and the princesses, Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in the provinces of the king of Ahasuerus.
Everybody understand? This one woman's rebellion against her man was not just about her and the king. Her refusal to obey the king's command, to obey his words, to not do what he told her to do, was not just a threat against the king or a affront to his authority. It was a threat to the authority of all the men in the kingdom. So the king's top men came to him and was like, listen, we got to decide what we're going to do, because you can't let this stand. If you let her disrespect and you go unpunished, now all of us are going to be disrespected by our women. Everybody understand that? It's important, man, to understand that when you're a brother who has a seat of authority or in a position of power or in a position to be respected, every move you make, man, is not just about you. It's about everybody else that's under your authority, under your command. You understand? And that goes for your woman, goes for your family, goes for everything that is within the realm of your control. Everybody understand? It's very important for sisters to understand that as well. Some of y'all, sometimes it's easy to only focus on yourself and only think that your actions, the consequences are only going to affect you. But everything that you do, everything that you say, it is not just affecting you. When it comes to being a sister in the truth, with a husband in the truth, anything you do, anything you say, whether it's public, whether it's private, is not just the consequences aren't just on your shoulders, but it weighs on your husband, weighs on your children, and you don't know how your behavior can affect other brothers, other sisters. So it's very important that we all are mindful of our actions and the things that we say and the things that we do, because it always carries weight and it always trickles on down to somebody else. So these men are faced with a situation where the king has to make a decision to do something because of the disrespect of the queen. Read on.
Verse 17. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husband in their eyes, when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti, the queen, to be brought in before her, but she came not. Verse 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. Verse 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal state unto another that is better than she.
So everybody understand the decision that they made was that Vashti can no longer be the queen. Vashti can no longer be publicly respected or looked at with any honor or with any dignity. She's got to be, the punishment for her rebelling against the king or for her going against her man was for her to be exiled. They got rid of her. But no more Vashti after that day. The king called her to come be presented before everybody. She refused. No more Vashti. So now there's a vacancy in the king's bedchambers. Everybody understands? Now this is in heathen culture. They put a woman away. Now in Israelite culture, what happens when a woman? Somebody give me an example in the scriptures of an Israelite woman rebelling against her man. What was the punishment? Any officers? There's an example of a sister in the scriptures who rebels against a brother who's royalty. Ariana. King David. When King David danced, let's get that scripture right quick. Just to show you the difference between how Israelite men and heathen men deal with their women. This king and his servants decided that they was going to put the queen away. She's no longer going to be dealing with the king. Let's see what happened when one of King David's wives went against his authority or tried to shame him. Let me get 2 Samuel chapter 6. Let's go to verse 20. So this is after David had a great victory. I believe this is after David was anointed king. This is after David was anointed king. They had a celebration, and in the midst of the celebration, David he turned up like Israel turned up. And so in the midst of David dancing, David shamed himself a little bit. He danced in a way where his private parts was exposed to several of the ladies in the party. So there is a conversation with David and his wife when they get home and they get back behind closed doors. 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 20. Brother, what's your name again?
Shah.
Shah, you read it.
2 Samuel 6:20. Then David returned to bless his household, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David.
That's Michal was her name. Michal, the daughter of Saul. This is one of David's wives. No sweat.
And Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, "How glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovered himself."
So this is a black woman giving her man that attitude that all brothers is too familiar with. David, he's celebrating, had a good time at the party. He get home, and his wife say, "Oh man, how glorious was the king today. Dancing and partying, uncovering yourself in the sight of all of the maids, shamelessly." She's berating David. You understand? Which goes to show you that when you're dealing with Israelite women, it don't matter who you are in public, how highly esteemed you are, you get behind closed doors and you a man and that's your woman. Everybody understand? So she get behind closed doors and she's grilling David because she's mad and upset. And so let's see what David's response was.
Verse 21. And David said unto Michal, "It was before the Lord which chose me before thy father and before all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord over Israel. Therefore will I play before the Lord."
David's response was, yeah, it was before the Lord that chose me to be king over your father and over your father's house. Everybody understand? Lord appointed me ruler over the children of Israel. Therefore will I play before the Lord. Meaning what? I'm gonna have my fun. I'm gonna do my dance. I'm gonna have, I'm gonna get it in. Damn, whatever you talking about. You understand? Read on. Sis, hold on, sis. 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 21. We start at verse 22 now.
And will yet be more vile than thus.
Read one more time.
And will yet be more vile than thus.
Slow it down. Make sure you get every word.
And I will yet be more vile than dust.
David said, and I will yet be more vile than dust. Meaning, you thought what I did earlier today was shameful. You thought that was vile. I'm going to be more vile. I'm going to be more shameless. Read on.
And will be base in my own sight.
I'm going to be based in my own sight. What is King David saying? David's saying, I'm going to be trifling. I'm going to do something that I think is trifling. I'm going to do something that I think is beneath me. You want to try to come at me for dancing and enjoying myself the day I get anointed king because a couple of girls saw my rod. Don't worry about that. No sweat. You just mad because I'm king. The Lord chose me over your father. And you're going to try to come at me with this. No sweat. I got something for you. I'm going to be more vile. I'm going to do something that even I think is beneath me or that I think is low. Read.
And of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor.
And of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of, I mean, all them girls that you mad saw my rod at the party, I'm going to be had of them in honor. Meaning what? I'm going to give them that rod that they saw. They're going to lay down with the king, and it's going to be an honorable, glorious thing. Read on.
Therefore, when Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child unto the day of her death.
David, did you say David put her away? Read one more time.
Therefore, Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child unto the day of her death.
Did it say that David divorced her, put her away? Read it one more time.
Therefore, Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child unto the day of her death.
Nah, David, she still remained his wife. He still dealt with her. He just made sure she never had no baby. Everybody understands? He knew the one thing that she wanted, and he refused to give it to her because of that great shame that she tried to bring on him that day. But in Israelite culture, you don't put your woman away. You understand? You don't divorce her. You don't get rid of her. Your woman shame you. You check her, put her in her place, but she's still your woman. Everybody understands? That's the difference between Israelites and heathens, as we saw in the beginning of the book of Esther. Now, let's go to Esther chapter 2. Let's go to, see something. Esther chapter 2, let's go verse 2.
Esther chapter 2, verse 2. Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king. Verse 3. And let the king appoint an officer in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan, the palace, to the house of the woman, unto the custody of Haman, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the woman, and let their things for purification be given them. Verse 4. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
So now they on the search to find a new young maiden or a new, they searching for the most beautiful young women in the kingdom to anoint a new queen for the king. All right. So they going out to search high and low for all of the prettiest, baddest, most beautiful women so that they can anoint a new king because now Vashti has been put away. All right, read verse 5.
Verse 5. Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. Verse 6. Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, the king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away.
Now here in the capital city of the Persians and the Medes, there was a Benjamite, a brother named Mordecai, whose family had been carried away captive from the land of Judah in the Babylonian captivity. In every captivity that we've suffered, the Lord has always had the spirit on Israel to rise up and reputation and authority and power in all these kingdoms. And every kingdom that we ever been under, whether it was the Egyptians, the first Babylonian Empire, the Persians and the Medes, the Greeks, the Romans, the Assyrians, Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians have always been the people with the greatest wealth of knowledge in science and mathematics, the greatest innovators in architecture, you understand, and engineering. And so we've always held high positions in the empires that we suffered under. Just like today, you go to NASA and go to, Lockheed Martin, go to the, the Centers of Disease Control. You go look at the patents and look up on the walls, you're gonna see nothing but black faces. You understand? We are the thing that made America great, just like we were the thing that made Egypt great, and we made the Persian and the Mede Empire great. Everybody understand? So living in the capital city, in the king's court, there was a brother who was a Benjamite by the name of Mordecai. Read on. Somebody pick it up. No sweat. Verse 8.
Verse 7. Verse 8.
It's not slacking. Verse 7.
Esther chapter 2, verse 7. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
Everybody understand? Mordecai brought up Hadassah, that is Esther. What does it mean when it says he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther? What is the scripture telling you right here? Something that everybody in this room, everybody watching online can relate to. It says, not her new name. You want it. Anybody else want to give it a shot?
Raise her up.
No. It says, and he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his brother's daughter, his uncle's daughter. Yes, that's not the point. I'm asking about the names. Why is it saying he brought up Hadassah, which is Esther?
So, was that was that her Babylonian name, sir? I got a heathen name.
Yes, Hadassah was her Hebrew name. Esther is her slave name. Everybody understands? You read you read in a lot of these books. You read like the book of Daniel. You read about Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All of them had. Well, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were their Hebrew names, but they also had Babylonian names. Everybody understand? In every captivity where we was in, we always were given the names of heathens, but we still kept our culture intact and we had our own names. So the sister was raised as Hadassah. That was her Hebrew name. But she's being presented before, the king of Persia, or she's presented to the Persians as Esther. Everybody understand? Esther is the name Ishtar, which is one of the ancient Persian Babylonian goddesses. Everybody understand? The name Esther is the same name as Ishtar, but her Hebrew name was Hadassah. So like, yep, sure. All right, so read on.
Verse 8. So it came to pass when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan, the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the woman. Verse 9. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 names which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her names unto the best place of the house of the women. Verse 10. Esther had not shewed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not shew it.
Now, all of the women that was brought to the king's palace, the man that the king put in charge of checking through the women, to screen all the women, he see this black woman, this Benjamite sister, and she's the baddest thing he ever seen. She's so pretty. She's so amazing. And they don't know she's an Israelite. All they know is this is a beautiful black woman. All of the women in the Persian and the Mede Empire, there's Chinese women there, white women there, there's African women of all different African, ethnicities there. There's Persian women, there's East Indian women. Of all of them, the black woman was the most beautiful. You understand? Just like it is today. Black women, you are the most beautiful. Latino, Native American, Indian women, you are the most beautiful. So they choose Esther out of all of these women. And he take her and give her 7 maids to serve her, give her her own spot in the palace, and give her all the things that she needs so that she can be presented for the king. All right? If I could, too, going back to verse 7, it's important to understand that the scripture says that Esther had neither father nor mother. You understand? What does it mean when she says she had neither father nor mother? Sis, her parents are dead. You understand? And when her parents died, Mordecai stepped in to take care of her. And he didn't let her, be raised by the heathens or let her go into foster care, nothing like that. His uncle died. He took his cousin in under his wing and raised her up as his own daughter. You understand? It's important that we live. I made sure I went over that to show that the same conditions that we were in those times, the same condition that many of our families find ourselves in today. You understand? And Mordecai being the man that he was, he took that sister in, raised her up, and got her, raised her to be a woman who, not only was beautiful, but also obeyed and listened to what he told her to do. She's in there in the palace being, looked at as one of the potential wives for the king. She did not reveal that she was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin because Mordecai told her to. Everybody understand? We can get off now. The rest of this chapter is going to go into all of the, the process that it went through for the king to choose a woman. After, it was a 6-month process for the women to be purified. Lo and behold, the king had all the women he could choose from. He chose Esther to be his wife. Everybody understand? Let me see something. Hold up. All right. Now let's read Esther chapter 2, verse 17. Salah.
Esther, chapter 2, verse 17. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown up on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
So that's it on that. So Esther became the queen, right? Drop down to verse 21.
Verse 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, 2 of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hand on the king, Ahasuerus. Verse 22. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen, and Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. Verse 23. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore, they were both hanged on the tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
Now there was a plot to kill the king, and Mordecai, being in the city, being close to the king's court, he peeped the plot. Mordecai went and told Esther, "Listen, somebody plotting on the king. Let the king know so that they can get dealt with." Esther went and made it known that somebody was plotting against the king. The detectives did an investigation, found the 2 cats that was plotting. They hung the men who was trying to kill the king for treason. And the acts that Esther had did was written down in the Chronicles of the King, or the records of the king. Everybody understands? It's important to note that because it's going to come back up later on in the story. Let's read Esther chapter 3. Let's start at verse 1.
Esther chapter 3, verse 1. After these things, the king Ahasuerus Hashorus promote Haman, the son of Hamadatha, and Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Now, through our process of time, there's a man in the king's empire that's rising up to power. And this man's name is Haman. Haman is the son of Hamadatha, the Agagite. The Agagites were a tribe of Edom. So this man Haman in the Persian and the Mede Empire is an Edomite who has risen to power. He's the top man under the king. He's the king's right-hand man. He's got more authority than all the rest of the princes that are under the king. Read verse 2. Mawakwash, you got it? Esther chapter 3, verse 2.
And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and revered Haman. For the king has so commanded, consider him but
Mordecai.
Mordecai bowed not, nor did he revere.
Nor did him reverence. Everybody understand? Go ahead, read it again. Read that last sentence again.
Nor did him reverence.
Reverence. You understand that? Everybody knows that this is the king's right-hand man. This cat walk in the room, it's like a general in the UPK walking in the room. They walk in the room, everybody, general on deck, everybody bow down, they take a knee and bow down to him. Everybody except Mordecai. White man walk in the room, everybody get on one knee except for that nigga that's standing there and refused to bow to him. Everybody saying that's what was happening thousands of years ago. White man in power, everybody bowing down, except for that militant nigga, except for that rebellious nigga, except for that Jew who don't pay no man any reverence. You understand? That was the spirit that was on Mordecai. You see this cat walking the place? You just another man like everybody else. I ain't bowing to you. I ain't treating you any special. Who the hell is you? Everybody understand? How you think that made the white man feel? Let's read on.
Now it comes to then the king's servants which were in the I read that.
No, read verse 3. You got it.
Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, why transgressing thou the king's commandment?
What are they saying to Mordecai? What are the rest of the people saying to Mordecai? Why you ain't bow? Come on, Mordecai, man. Why? Show the cat his respect. Why you ain't keeping the king's commandment now? Did it say anywhere here that the king gave a commandment for people to bow down to Haman? There wasn't no commandment given that you had to kneel when he walked in the room. What was everybody else? What were everybody else that Mordecai was not? Meaning, what made them bow and what made Mordecai not bow? No. There was one? No, they weren't Edomites. Anybody else? Imagine you at your job, and there's, the president of the company walk in one day, and everybody is, oh, how you doing, Mr. Johnson? Shaking his hand, can I get some coffee? And, they brown nose. And you not brown nose because your job doesn't require it. What is it that makes you not give a damn, but makes other people, show off for this man? Sis. Okay, not that he's the devil. Okay, just think at your job, period. It ain't got to be a white man. Just think at your job. There's somebody who's, prestigious in the company, but he's just another person to you. To everybody else, he's somebody that they got to go out their way to say hi to. They got to go out their way to, shuck and jive for them. Why do they do what they do and you don't do it?
You don't look up and see that person as someone that's, just, over you.
You're right. It's simpler than that. Shit. No, it's simpler than that. It's very simple. No, it's even simpler than that. No, he under him. Okay, they are Uncle Tom. They are, brown noses. You ever had a cat on your job who just smile in the boss face and like y'all sit there talking, having a conversation. Yeah, man, you see the game last night, something. Then the boss come around, he gets the ball, snowballs. Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson. All right, Mr. Johnson, you looking mighty fine today. It's like, what the hell are you doing all that for, man? You put your nose out that man, cracking that man behind. That's how these people were towards Haman. They was, Haman come around. Yes, boss, how you doing, boss? Oh, you looking good today, boss. Yes, sir. They bowed down to him. Mordecai looking at him like, hell out of here with this devil. He's a devil just like every other devil. You understand? Just like on your job, we all workers, we all co-workers here. You working just like I'm working. I ain't about to bow down to you. You just another cat punching the clock like me. Everybody understand? Mordecai was a man who was not impressed or not moved by any of that extra nonsense. He's doing his job. He's showing up to the king's court every day. He there to do his job. He ain't there to shuck and jive and bow down and pay reverence. He's there to do his job. Everybody understand? Read on.
Now it came to pass when they spoke daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew.
Now, because they saw Mordecai being disciplined, being militant, refusing to pay respects, what they go do? They go snitch to the boss. Yeah, boss, that Mordecai, he don't like to show you your respect when you come in the room. Yeah, he one of them Jews. He said he ain't gotta bow down to no man. Yeah, boss, you should make an example out of Mordecai. Just like they do today. You understand? Whether you on a job with white people, Israelites, East Indians, let you be militant. Let you be disciplined. Let you not show no man reverence. Let you disrespect the boss. You understand? First thing they gonna do as soon as you ain't around is, yeah, that I don't like John. Yeah, he acts like he all high and mighty. He don't want to be nobody respect. I say hi to him. He don't say hi back. Who he think he is? That's just how they do. Everybody understand? So let's read on. Read verse 5.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did he reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. And he sworn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. For they had shown him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai.
Now, they go to Haman, seeing that this brother would not bow to him, seeing that he wouldn't give him his respect, seeing that everybody else was noticing that this man wasn't going to give him his respect, had the thoughts that a devil has. He didn't want to just punish Mordecai. He wanted to kill all the Jews. Everybody understand? This is what is in the heart of a white man. Haman, you want to know a white man in today's times? Go read the book of Esther and read about Haman. This one brother would not bow to him, wouldn't show him his respect. Haman said to himself, man, I'm going to kill all Jews. I'm going to get all these niggas killed. Everybody understand? All right, so let's read verse 7. Let me pass it over to Shah again.
Esther 3, verse 7. In the first month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast
Pure.
Oh, they cast pure. That is the lot before Haman from day to day and from month to month to the 12th month, that is the month of Adar.
So real quick, just so we understand in the context, this is about 9 years later. You understand? Third year of the king's reign, when Esther got married to him. We're now in the 12th year of the king's reign. Everybody understand? And the people in the first month was called Nisan in the Persian Empire. The 12th month was called Adar. But basically, every day from the whole year, they cast Purim before Haman, meaning that's where Haman's, I guess, his quarters were, is where the people would cast lots. Everybody understand? All right, let's read verse 9.
And verse 9 or 8?
Let me see, like verse 8.
9 out of 1 kind. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, that is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's law. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
Everybody understand what was just said? Well, this white man just went to the king and said, the white man went to the king and said, there's a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom. What does that mean? In every city, every ghetto, and every nook and cranny in the Persian Empire, there was niggas. There was spicks, there was wetbacks, there was the Lord's scattered and dispersed people. And the way he describes us, he says their laws are diverse from all people. What does that mean? It's different. Give me a biblical, what does the Bible say? You're right. He's saying that these people are different from everybody else. What does the Bible say? We holy. Understand? Even in this captivity, thousands of years ago, in the Persian and the Mede Empire, we was different from everybody else. We wasn't living like the Edomites, we wasn't living like the Persians, wasn't living like the Chinese and the Japanese, even though we all under the same authority. Even then, we were people whose laws were different from everybody else. We stayed separate from everybody else. Then he says, neither keep they the king's laws. What does that mean? There's things that the king want people to do. They're not going to do those things because of their laws. The king may allow homosexuality. They don't allow homosexuality. The king may allow a woman to divorce her man and go be a hoe. They don't allow their women to go divorce and be hoes. You understand? The king may allow eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobsters. They not allowing eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobsters. We've always been a people whose laws were different from everybody else, and we ain't gonna break the laws. We're not gonna be criminals, but we're not gonna adopt any of the customs or the culture of the people who are contrary to what we believe in. You understand? And that has always been a thorn in the side of these other nations. And you, brothers and sisters who waking up today coming into the truth, you are a thorn in the white man's side because you represent something that is greater than he could ever be. You understand? That is what made us a threat. That's what made us a threat. That is what Haman hated about us. He hated that we wouldn't eat pork, wouldn't eat shrimp, wouldn't let our women be hoes, wouldn't be homosexuals, just like the white man today hates everything that we stand for, hates everything that we represent, because we are the example of what righteousness is in this earth when we obey the Most High. You understand? Read on.
Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasury.
Now listen, this is y'all gotta understand. The reason why I told you in verse 7 that they cast lots before Haman, because that's how he got rich. He got powerful off of people gambling and making deals and making bets, just like Edomites have always done. And with this money, he went to the king and said, listen, these people who in your empire who ain't bringing you no benefit, let me kill them. I'll pay you 10,000 talents. I'll pay 10,000 talents of silver to the king. You understand? This Edomite paid to have a government program established to eradicate all of Israel. It is the same thing the white man is doing today. He pays money to set up government programs to destroy the Lord's people. Why? Because we are people whose laws are diverse from other people. We are people who don't keep the king's laws. We serving the Lord are people who is no profit to him. He takes money and pays it and sets up government programs to get you destroyed. The white man is the same today as he's always been. Everybody understand? Let's read on.
Esther 3, verse 10. The king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
What did the Bible say this man was?
The Jews' enemy.
I thought God loved everybody. Read it again.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
You understand? This man was not our friend. He wasn't our ally. Wasn't no diplomacy between us. He was our enemy. You understand? The white man has always been the Jews' enemy. The white man has always been the adversary of the Lord's people. And he always, throughout every empire that we've been in, every captivity we've been in, he's been the one plotting and scheming to get us completely destroyed. It's not enough for us to go into slavery, not enough for us to be in captivity, not enough for us not to have our own land. The white man want to see every single one of us dead and gone, erased off the earth. Everybody understand? Now at this time, that power was given to this white man to destroy all of us. The king's ring, the king carry a ring like this, and the king sent off official notification. It has his seal on it. When the king took that ring, said, "Here you go, white man. Here you go, Haman. Go ahead and do what you want to do. Do your bit." Everybody understand? Read on. So, like, you know, hold on real quick. Hold up. Let's read verse 13. So what I'm gonna speed us up a little bit. What the Edomite did is he took the king's ring, he went to the notification office where he had letters drawn up in every language that everybody spoke in the empire, that on this day, all the Jews in every city, in every ghetto throughout the Persian Empire was gonna be put to death at one time. He took this letter and wrote it in every different language, and he had it, every letter signed and sealed with the king's signature, and all the letters went out to all the four corners of the king's empire to be posted up in every city, in every government office, to be posted on the street signs that on this day, all the Jews is going to be put to death. Everybody understand? So in essence, our death warrant was signed, sealed, and delivered with the king's seal all throughout the empire. All right, let's go to chapter 4. That's the chapter 4, verse 1. Yaquan, you got it?
Okay.
Go ahead.
The book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes, and he put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and a bitter cry. Verse 2, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter until the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing. And many laid the sackcloth with ashes.
Now, when Mordecai heard the news, he rent all his clothes. Meaning what? All of the, whatever he was wearing, fancy, nice clothes he going to his job with, he ripped all of them off of him. He wailed. He put on sackcloth and ashes. He made sure everybody knew that he was mourning. knew that he was in hell, knew that he was suffering. You understand? And everywhere where the children of Israel were, they put on sackcloth and they put on sackcloth and covered themselves with ashes, and they wailed and they prayed and they fasted. You understand? It has always been an Israelite response to turmoil, to tragedy, to horrible news, to cry, lament, to not get all fresh and fly and put on your best clothes, but to let everybody know that you in mourning, but to also fast and to pray. You understand? What is this? Why is fasting and praying important? Why has it always been a part of our culture to fast and pray anytime, we're going through something tragic or we're suffering in some type of turmoil? What does fasting and praying do? Mama Claus. Strengthen your spirit. What else?
Something like the house shot is close to the Most High, sir.
That's what the brother said. Strengthen your spirit, bring you close to the Most High. Sis. You afflict. You right. You afflict your flesh, but why would we afflict our flesh? Yakwa.
Confession is good for the spirit.
Okay, no. More clause. Now, what a lot of y'all said was right. You know what I'm saying? To get strengthen your spirit, get closer to the Most High, to afflict your flesh. But what is the goal? What is while you're doing all of those things? What is not the main thing, but what does the scripture say about fasting and praying?
So Most High on our side.
No. Yakwa.
If I could, because with fasting and prayer, that's how you get rid of certain demons.
Casting out demons. Everybody understand? When you're going through something tragic, going through some turmoil, the first thing you want, the thing you feeling, the hopelessness, I want to die. It don't get no worse than this. It's the worst day of my life. A lot of the times, that's a demon. You understand? There's things that are happening in your life that make you want to just give up. Fast and pray. Because that thing that's telling you to give up, that is a demon. Everybody understand? That thing that wants you to just say, well, I keep serving the Lord and all the people I love keep dying. What's the point of serving the Lord? That's a demon. That thing that makes you say, man, I'm serving the Lord, but I keep taking these L's, I keep having these setbacks. My woman left me, the IRS coming from my house, they repoed my car. I said, why should I even serve the Lord? I was better off selling drugs and getting high. That is a demon. Everybody understands. You have got to fast and pray to get that demon off of you. Everybody understands. You're still going to be in hell, but at least you got the demon off of you. Everybody understands. Oscar Rock.
Sorry, sir. Precept. Could I precept that in with Mark 9:29, sir?
Come, I believe that is a precept. Let's read it.
Mark chapter 9, verse 29. And he said unto them, this kind came forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting.
You understand? There's some demons that you can only get off of you by praying and fasting. And at this time, there was a strong demon on all of Israel that's what you get for being a Jew. That's what you get for living this life and serving the Lord and being in the truth. Now, all of us are going to die on this day. They fasted and they prayed and they cried and they put on sackcloth. Everybody understand? Marah.
You got a question online if you want to take it, sir.
Is it about this on the topic?
God.
All right, let's get it.
It said it's cleansing, casting out demons the same as cleansing.
Okay, is casting out demons the same as cleansing? In a sense, yes. But it's not some, okay, I fasted and prayed for 2 days and now I got this amount of cleansing done. It's not like that. You understand? It's not something that is spiritual. It's not, it's not how the white man tries to promote things. Or it's not like some Christian tell you, buy this prayer cloth. If you buy the cloth and you wash your face and you cover with the blood of Jesus and now your problems go away, it's not that. Everybody understands.
God.
So do you fast to demon get off you?
You fast as long as you need to. A lot of times, most fasts is just you something that you do personally between you and the Lord. Christ gave us instructions on how to fast that way. Some things you need to go before the Lord with a fast. What I mean by that is you would come to the priest and say, "Sir, I think I need to fast from alcohol. I need to fast from sex. Or I need to fast from whatever the thing is that you feel is making you weak." That's a fast that you do before the Lord, and that has a time period attached to it. You understand? Come on with it.
Is it lawful to like fast from like your rib or something?
Yes, but that is the type of fast that you have to communicate with your rib about. In 1 Corinthians, I believe, 11th chapter, it says, where it talks about giving due benevolence to your wife, it also says to defraud ye not one another except for a time and with consent. Meaning if you feel like this, sex every day, 5 times a day is weakening you, you got to go to your woman and say, "Baby, I'm gonna have to, we got to scale it back a little bit, and this is why." So that your wife don't look at you like, "Okay, we used to have sex 5 times a day. Now we having sex 3 times a day. There's another bitch." So that she don't immediately jump to that, and now Satan is in her head, like, who's getting them other 2 sessions that I'm used to getting every day? You can say, "Baby, I'm taking a break. I need to back off a little bit so that she don't go crazy." You understand? Because if you don't communicate with her, the demon you trying to get rid of is going to jump in her, and now that demon ain't going nowhere because now you and her, he's fighting you through her. You understand? Come on with it.
So say like that's a hard fast to keep. Like, how do you keep from like breaking that fast? Like, is it praying?
Strength. You got to be strong. Yes, you got to pray. If you're gonna do like a sex fast, you got to be strong. You got to pray. Probably, distance yourself a little bit. Go stay at the barracks for a couple of days or something because she's going to try and take it from her. Even though y'all sat down and talked and you communicated that you're trying to strengthen yourself, it's going to be a difficult thing to do. So that's the type of thing you want to get some counsel about. All right. But let's get back to the story. Mordecai cried, put on sackcloth. Israelites all throughout the kingdom sighed, cried, put on sackcloth, fasted, and prayed. Read verse 4.
The book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 4. So Esther's maid and her chamberlain came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent remnant to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him. But he received it not.
Esther's behind the gate. She's in the palace. She tries to comfort Mordecai, give him clothes. You know what I'm saying? To brighten his countenance. Mordecai like, "Nah, man, I don't want none of that." All right, read on.
Verse 5. Then called Esther to Hatshepsut, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he was appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai, to know what it was and why it was. Verse 6. So Hatshepsut went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. Verse 7. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Verse 8. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show unto Esther and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go unto the king, to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for a people. Verse 9. And Tash came and told Esther the words of Mordecai.
Everybody understand? She wanted to know what was going on. Why Mordecai why you sad? What's the matter? Mordecai went and told the cat, Tash, "Listen, man, they plotting against us." Cat Haman then told the king he was going to pay him $10,000 or 10,000 talents of silver, which is a whole lot more than $10,000. It's like millions of dollars. He's going to try to kill all of us. Our people are in grave danger. Listen, I need you to go before the king and make a supplication for your people. I need you to now stand up for your people as to go and plead to the king so that this evil doesn't come down on us. Everybody understand? So then the cat go back and tell Esther everything. Now she knows why Mordecai is sad. Now she knows what's going on outside the palace. Read on.
Verse 10. Again, Esther spoke unto Jack and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. Verse 11. All the king's servants and the people of the king's province do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come into the king those 30 days. Verse 12. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with myself that thou shalt escape into the king's house, more than all the Jews.
So now, Esther's response to Mordecai saying, go make a supplication for us was, okay, you know that if I go before the king and he don't accept me, I get put to death. You asking a lot, Mordecai, and king ain't called me in 30 days. I can't just go and present myself. Mordecai checked this and said, listen, don't think about yourself. Don't think because you're comfortable and living good and living wonderful that the fate that befalls your people is going to escape you. And that goes for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that's in all of these governments and all of these high seats with all of these riches and this wealth. Do not think that the plague of evil that comes down on your people is not going to come down on you. Because you are an Israelite, regardless of whether you want to identify as one, whether you want to acknowledge it, no matter how much you try to separate yourself from your people, you are your people. And whatever happens to your people is what's going to happen to you. Right. There is no escaping, you know, you think you're going to be the last Negro alive, or you're going to be the one Negro that's accepted by white people. No. You understand? When the day comes for these Edomites to show you that they the devil the Bible speaks of, and they full wickedness and their power to try and do evil against us, the ones who are closest to them are the ones who's going to be caught up first. Right. So Mordecai is warning her, listen, do what the hell I'm telling you to do, because if you don't, you're going to die just like us. You understand? Go before that king and do your duty for your nation. Everybody should take a lesson from that, and that there comes a time in your life when you have to give yourself to something that's bigger than you. Your life isn't always about you and what you want and what you think and what you feel and what you're afraid of or what you have to lose. Sometimes it's about your nation. Sometimes you're going to have to put yourself in a position to take a loss so that your people can gain. Everybody understands? Read on.
Verse 14.
So I can drop down to verse 15.
Verse 15. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Verse 16. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish.
Now, Esther said to Mordecai, cut on one cut. Right. Yes, sir. Please tell the people, fast and pray for 3 days. Me and my servants gonna fast and pray for 3 days, and then I'm gonna go before the king, which is against the law, and hopefully I find favor, but if I die, then I die. Why did Esther ask Mordecai to tell the people to fast for 3 days? Why did Esther ask for the people to fast for 3 days? Yes, to you know, on a national level, to cast out the demon that was hanging over our heads. You understand? And there comes a time where that's necessary. That's why the Lord gave us a day of atonement for all of Israel to know what it feels like to fast, to deny yourself, to get strong. You understand? And at this time, she knew that if this thing was going to be done and it was the Lord's will, that she was going to need the whole nation's strength with her. You understand? For this thing that she was going to do, It wasn't enough for her to fast for 3 days. She needed her servants to fast. She needed all of Israel to fast for 3 days. But Mordecai went out and we fasted for 3 days. No food, no drink, praying. You understand? Read chapter 5, verse 1.
The book of Esther, chapter 5, verse 1. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near it and touched the top of the scepter.
Everybody understands. So that praying and that fasting, it worked out. Esther went before the king. King Gabriel approved of her coming before him. Everybody understand. So the king asked her, well, what you want? You coming in the city, what you want, Esther? She says, King, I just want to have a banquet. I want to have a nice little dinner, just me and you. But ask Haman to come. Everybody understand? So the king is like, all right, no sweat. We're gonna have this banquet. He go get his right-hand man, Haman, and say, listen, make this party happen. Everybody understand? Drop down to verse 6.
The book of Esther, chapter 5, verse 6. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition?
Petition.
And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, my petition is my request is, if I have found favor in thy sight, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I shall do tomorrow as the king has said.
So Esther said, this is the one thing I want from you, king. Let's have a banquet, and at that banquet, I want you there, and I want Haman, your right-hand man, to be there. Read verse 9.
Verse 9. Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
Now, this is how you rule a white man's day.
Right.
This white man, he hears the queen say to the king, all I want in the world is for us to have lunch tomorrow. I want you to be there, king, and I also want your right-hand man to be there. The white man Haman is thinking, yeah, the queen want a banquet, which is me and the king. We're going to sit there and eat. He's feeling good. Right. He leave up out of the palace, and the first thing he sees is this nigga who won't stand for him. This nigga who won't pay him no reverence. This nigga who refused to acknowledge his position and his authority, and it F's up his whole day. You understand? When the white man sees you refusing to acknowledge him, refusing to respect him, refusing to stand for his flag, refusing to pay him homage, it F's up his day. There's nothing that a white man hates more than anything than a defiant nigga.
Right.
2,000 years ago till today, you defiant and refusing to pay him the homage he think he deserves, F up his whole life. Everybody understand? I live to F up the white man's life. Damn right. So I'm gonna speed this ahead a little bit. So Haman goes home, he tell his wife, yeah, man, the queen gonna have breakfast tomorrow. I'm there. Oh man, our family doing so well. We got all this rich, got all this wealth, but it's this one nigga at the palace that won't bow to me. I can't stand this nigga. That's why I'm gonna get all of him and his people put to death, right? So let's drop down and read, let's get chapter 6, verse 1. Now, go ahead, Marah.
The sister had a question about Esther.
Go ahead.
She said, was Esther married to the king who was a heathen, sir?
Yes, Esther was married to a heathen. Esther was married to a heathen. Esther's marriage to this heathen, though, was the Lord's doing.
Right.
Everybody understand? Esther's marriage to this heathen was a power move. Esther's marriage to this heathen was to put her in a position to be able to deliver the children of Israel. Esther being married to this heathen is not, Shaquisha marrying, you know, Mark from the neighborhood. Marrying a white boy on her job, or the white boy who, you know, buy her flowers. This ain't that. Everybody understand? This is this brother who was attained a seat of power and righteousness and authority in that kingdom, allowing her to marry this heathen for power's sake. Everybody understand? So yes, she was married to a heathen, though, to answer the question. Read on. No, it's like chapter 6, verse 1. Now, what I was gonna say is another thing that praying and that fasting did is allow the Lord to step in. You pray and fast, it also gets the Lord on your side. The Lord knows what you're fasting and you're praying for. The scripture says that when we pray, you understand, the Spirit make intercession for us, meaning you may be praying for, you know, a new car. Really what you're praying for is, you know, less stress. You understand? Praying to get ahead, be able to survive in this captivity better. The Lord will always give you what you want, even though it may not be what you ask, what you're praying for. Everybody understand? And this fasting and praying for them 3 days, the nation was praying to the Lord, asking the Lord to be with us, to protect us, to watch over us. And here's how the Lord answered that prayer. Esther chapter 6, verse 1.
The book of Esther, chapter 6, verse 1. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teres, 2 of the king's chambers, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king of Ahasuerus. Verse 3. And the king said, what honor and dignity have be done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him.
Now, the night after the queen came to the king and asked for the banquet to be set up with her and with the king and Haman, Haman went home and told his wife, yeah, we on and popping now. I'm going to lunch tomorrow with the queen and the king, and I know I'm gonna get some great honor. The king, but then he said that nigga Mordecai there, I can't stand him. Haman's wife told him, go ahead and get the gallows made that you're gonna hang the Jews on tomorrow to make you feel better. Get the gallows made for you to hang them Jews so that tomorrow after your banquet, you can go ahead and get to killing. That night when the king is trying to sleep, he cannot sleep. He's restless. And in his restlessness, he gets the thoughts. So let me bring the records and let the records of my empire be read to me. And in the reading of those records, he hears about the amazing work that Mordecai did in protecting him from would-be assassins. And the king says, yo, this cat did something amazing. What honor did y'all give to him? What way did y'all celebrate this amazing thing that he did? And the servants told the king, there was no way. He ain't been celebrated. You gonna say something more, Clark?
Those were dudes earlier.
The dudes in the first chapter that was trying to plot against the king, and Mordecai told Esther, man, let the detectives know they trying to kill the king. You understand? So now the king is thinking to honor Mordecai the next day. All right? For time's sake, I'm gonna drop down. So what happens the next morning is they have the banquet. The king is there, Haman is there, Esther's there. The first thing the king says is, Haman, if I wanted to honor somebody and do something amazing for a man who deserves to be rewarded by the empire, what should I do for this man who I want to bestow a great honor upon? And Haman, thinking the king is talking about himself, says, King, you should deck him out in the finest clothes, put him on a horseman, parade him through the city, celebrate this man, let everybody in the city know that this is the man who the king favors. And so the king says, Haman, that's a good idea. Go get that Mordecai cat, deck him in the finest clothes, put him on all the banging jewelry, put him on a horse and parade him through the streets and celebrate him. And the white man is driven insane by that. You understand? This man who we wanted to kill, this man who refused to respect him, who refused to acknowledge him, he's now forced to respect that man, forced to acknowledge that man, forced to put him in the finest clothes, the jewelry, put him on a horse and parade him through the city. You understand? The scripture says that if a man's ways please the Lord, he will make your enemies to be at peace with you. Right. You understand? The Lord also said, if you serve him, he will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. That is what happened here with Mordecai. You understand? For standing with the Lord, for serving the Lord, the man who hated him the most is now the man who was forced to honor him, bow to him. The man who he refused to bow to, who he refused to pay any homage, that was the man who was now forced by the king's word to bow to him. Just like you brothers stand strong for the Lord, and we go out there on the street now, we hated on the job, hated by white people, but we go out there and speak the word of the Lord, and white people get on their knees and kiss your feet. You understand? That's because that is the reward of a man who serves the Lord. With no fear and all strength and militancy and discipline. Everybody understand? All right, so drop that. Let's get Esther chapter 7. Hold up. Let's get Esther chapter 7, verse 1. So now comes the time for the banquet with the king and the queen. All right, read.
The book of Esther, chapter 7, verse 1. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Verse 3. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. Verse 4. For we are sold and we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not contravail the king's death.
So that's the one before the king and told him what was going down. I called you today. I wanted to have this banquet because me and my people are being sold for destruction. You understand? If I held my tongue, then I wouldn't have been able to do nothing to stop the enemy. You understand? Read verse 5.
Verse 5. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he and where is he that does presume in his heart to do so? Verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make requests for his life to Esther the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Verse 8. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Verse 9.
So everybody understand what happened. They at the banquet, Esther tell the king, the enemy is Haman. The king is mad and upset at the same time because Haman is his right-hand man. He's like, damn, my woman and her family, all the people she loves gonna be killed, but the one who's behind it is my right-hand man. He leaves the banquet, trying to figure out what he's gonna do. He blown, he leaves the banquet. When he leaves the banquet, the white man gets on his knees and starts begging the sister, please, Esther, please, don't do this, please. The king comes back and sees the Edomite begging the sister on the bed and gets enraged because he's insulted that this man is on his woman. You understand? King, come back in. Oh, so when I leave, now you're gonna try to get with my woman. Not only is you trying to kill her, do this and that, you're gonna try to take my woman too. As he's saying it, the king's servants gag Haman and take him away.
Right.
He's done. He didn't violate the king. You understand?
Right.
It's over for him now. Read on.
Verse 9. And Habanon, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standing in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon.
Somebody said, hey, king, there's some gallows out here that Haman had built to hang Mordecai on, the man who spoke good for you. The king said, take Haman and hang him on them gallows. So that evil devil got hung on the same gallows that he thought he was going to be able to hang Mordecai on. That is how the Lord will flip the script on your enemies if you serve him and you stand in righteousness. Everybody understand? That's why fasting and praying is important. That's why being disciplined and having integrity and not bowing down to your enemies is important. Because the Lord will see your strength and the Lord will reward you for your strength the way that he rewarded Mordecai, the way that he rewarded Esther, and the way that he rewarded our whole nation for their discipline. You understand? For their faith, for their trusting in the Most High. You understand? Let me get Esther chapter 8. Hold on, let me see. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let's get Esther chapter 8, verse 7.
The book of Esther, chapter 8, verse 7. Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen and to Mordecai the Jew, behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hung upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Verse 8, write ye also for the Jews, as in like a view, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse. Verse 9. Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is, the month Sivan.
Salagi, if I could, drop down to verse 11.
Verse 11, wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that were assaulted, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey.
Drop down to verse 15.
Verse 15. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. Verse 16. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province, in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
What does that last line mean when it says, for many people became Jews? You understand? So everything that the Edomite had planned to do to us, it got turned back on their heads. You understand? The decree that went out that all of Israel was going to be put to death on this day, the script was flipped. And now anybody who was against the children of Israel was going to be put to death. The power was put in our hands to defend ourselves and to be able to stand for our nation and stand for our power, and nobody could violate us in any way. And so that made all the people to become Jews, and it pushed many people to become Jews. What does that mean? That many people became Jews.
Follow our Lord, statutes and commandments.
Okay, you on it.
like it's my cousin, like it said earlier, you know, we were scattered throughout the whole town and city or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So is it like pretty much like brothers and sisters that time was in the world that was probably following that kingdom custom and they laws and not keeping our laws.
Okay.
Even the ones that were afraid to say they were Jews, because obviously hiding it because they were afraid of what about their brother-in-law was going to kill them, Agagite was going to kill them. And they were no longer afraid to say, spoke up, saying they were Jews.
Okay. Anybody else? Y'all watch.
The people that were good that are you became Jews.
Okay. No. So all of y'all. Well, not all of y'all. The brother was on it when he said that, okay, don't think they started to keep our laws, but think being an Israelite became a cool thing. Or being like a Jew became a cool thing, much like everybody copies our culture today. Now, we in the world, in this place, but Black, Latino, Native American Indian culture is the culture that pushes everything in America. You start wearing your hat backwards, everybody want to wear their hat backwards. You start wearing baggy jeans, everybody want to start wearing baggy jeans. You understand? You start, you excel in basketball, football, and music and entertainment, everybody wants to, be like Mike. It's everybody started to want to be like the people who had the power. They wanted to be like Jews. You understand? You can't become a Jew. You got to be born a Jew. You understand? But you can emulate a Jew. You can try and be like an Israelite. Much like today, everybody tries to be like an Israelite. Problem is, we as Israelites aren't in our right culture. We aren't, in our right flavor. But we still got the whole earth jocking our style. Well, at this time, 2,000 years ago, when we became the people who had the power, when we became the people who were respected and feared, everybody wanted to be like Israelites. Everybody wanted to be like Mordecai. Everybody wanted to be like a Jew. Everybody understand? So that's what it means when they became Jews. It's important to understand that because the Christian is going to pull that and say, see, people became Jews during Purim. That's not what it's talking about. You understand? They started to emulate Israelite culture, started to emulate Israelite everything. Everybody understands? All right? And the brothers and the sisters were in the truth at this time. I mean, okay, they weren't in the truth, but Israelites were Israelites at this time. You couldn't not be an Israelite. Everybody understand? But there was no in the truth and in the world at this time. There was brothers who was keeping the law, brothers and sisters who weren't, but everybody, for the most part, was like Mordecai in that they were identified as Israelites. They was keeping the laws. You understand? When we came out of the Babylonian slavery and we was under the Persians and the Medes, there was a great revival of our culture. You understand? When the Persians and the Medes came into power, they allowed us to go back into our land, build the temple back up. You read the book of Ezra, you read the book of Nehemiah. All of that is taking place during the time of the Persian and the Mede rulership. You understand? So the Persians and the Medes were not, they did not cut us off from our culture the same way that the Babylonians did, the same way the Greeks and the Romans did. You understand? So a lot of our people were embracing that they were Israelites, which is why everybody was so scared when the decree went out for all the Jews to be killed. After we got the power, everybody wanted to be like us. That's what it means. Everybody became Jews. Everybody understand? Many people became Jews. For the fear of the Jews fell upon them. Meaning, if you don't want to be destroyed by the Jews, what you gonna do? You're gonna try to join them. Yeah, man, y'all Israelites, man, y'all culture so amazing, all y'all so wonderful, man. Yeah, man, y'all cool, man. Man, I love Israelites. I ain't got no problem with Israelites. I love all Israelite people. And then what white people do? Let a white man find himself in a situation where he about to get jammed up. I love black people. I have black friends. All my friends are black. I know you lying devil. You understand? That's what took place thousands of years ago in the Persian Empire. All right? Then drop down. Let's go to Esther chapter 9. Let's drop down to verse 20. So after the script was flipped and we got the power, and Mordecai got celebrated, Mordecai passed a decree that all the children of Israel would celebrate on the 14th day of the 12th month, the victory that the Lord gave us over our enemies when he took the wicked Haman, the wicked white man, you understand, the Agagite, the Edomite, who sought to plot against us to murder all of us by paying the government thousands of dollars to set up a program to get us all killed. when the Lord flipped that script and turned it upside down, Mordecai passed a decree that all Israelites everywhere forever would remember the miracle that the Lord worked there in Shushan the palace when he used Esther to gain the king's favor to deliver us from our oppressors and deliver us from destruction and to restore us to being the people that the Lord called us to be. So today is a great day. We remember the amazing works of Esther. We remember her strength. We remember her femininity in gaining the king's favor. We remember the courage that she exhibited in putting her life on the line for her nation and the discipline she showed by listening to the man who raised her. Esther could have easily said, I'm grown, Mordecai. I ain't got to listen to you. I'm independent now. I'm the wife of the queen. I'm the wife of the king. I ain't got to listen to you, Mordecai. But she did not do that. She respected Mordecai for his leadership, for his righteousness, and because of that, we here today. You understand? So we remember Mordecai. We remember Esther. And we thank the Most High for them. And every day, brothers and sisters should be fighting to exhibit the strength and the integrity and the honor that this brother and this sister showed thousands of years ago. Because that is what it's going to take to deliver our people in the times that we live in today. Everybody understand? So I'll read Esther chapter 9, verse 10 to 21. From Esther chapter 9, verse 20 to 31. And then we'll close out the class, all right? Let's get it. Esther chapter 9, verse 20.
The book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 20. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month, Adar, and the 15th day of the same year. Verse 22. As the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned into them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. Verse 23. And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them. Because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast her, that is, the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. Verse 25. But when Esther came before the king, and he commanded by the letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he had his sons, and that he and his sons should be hung on the gallows. Verse 26. Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them. Verse 27. The Jews ordained and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these days, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Verse 29. Then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew, wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Assyria, with words of peace and truth. Verse 31. To confirm these days of Purim and their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves and their seed the matters of the fasting of their crops. Verse 32. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book.
Everybody understand that? Rakatha Yahweh Yahweh Shah, which means bless the Most High. Now let's celebrate and let's get it in the way Israelites get it in. We're going to eat, we're going to drink. All the brothers and sisters out there all across the country to remember this day. Today and tomorrow is a very ancient and is an honorable tradition. This is a high holy day for the children of Israel. This is a memorial. You understand? Let the people in the world have 4th of July and have Christmas and Valentine's Day and whatever else they got. The Lord gave us Purim. You understand? To remember how the Lord delivered us from the hands of the white man while we was in captivity under another nation. Let's pray and fast and look for the Lord to deliver us out of the hands of the white man in this generation. With that, pass the class over to preaching officer Oscar Rock.
This is it.
Yeah.
We are the ISUPK, started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shield themselves from the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6 month period, the brother and the sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 8, chapter